Hi guys, so the campaign, the multiplayer campaign, I unfortunately wasn't able to show up for the last few sessions. And as you can see, a lot has changed. Like, a lot has changed in the world. It is the final save from the multiplayer campaign. And although I wasn't able to participate, I decided I couldn't just let it slide without making one last final tier list for the campaign. And yeah, let's get into it because there's going to be quite a lot to do. There's going to be a few nations that I know haven't been played for quite a while by players, but just for fun and to populate the tier list a little bit. I'm gonna take a tiny look at them. And also, just another reminder, this is not like an objective tier list. I'm very arbitrary when making those assignments, and people can change them in chat themselves as well, so yeah. Let's get started, shall we? There's plenty to do. We're almost achieving color white with this wheel spinning. Okay, we're starting with France. We're going with a heavy hitter. So let's see if I only find a way to remove this. Okay, you guys can actually see a little better. France has been struggling a little bit, if I recall, for quite a bit of the campaign. They, well, they almost got this one. Yeah, they were getting quite well. I think they're number 8 in GDP. That's not a great result. They're behind Brazil and Argentina, who have, to be fair, done extremely well for themselves. For people that Argentina and Brazil have been for quite a while complaining about not doing that well. Ending up above France, UK, and Brazil, ending up above Austria-Hungary, that's a pretty decent result, I have to say. When it comes to standard of living, close to top 10, quite far behind some of the top nations. Yeah, GDP is not revolutionary. Let's take a look around the world. Hi, Simon. Yeah, if I will need people in chat to actually let me know what's been happening in the campaign, because some of this stuff is a bit surprising to me, but we shall see. They have their power block, which I don't think much has changed. It is pretty much the same as it was. Still weren't able to actually finish all of it within the entire campaign. We ended in 1912, which is, well, relatively early. It's like 20 years before the end date. Was it before of some kind of stability issues? Does anyone know? Or was it simply because the people decided it was time to end things? I'm not entirely sure about this one. So politically, France has done, I'd say, about the bare minimum. Well, they do not control Alsace-Lorraine, nor Savoy, interestingly enough. They do control a decent chunk of Africa and Indochina, for most of Indochina actually, and they did manage to get Scandinavia in their power block, but it's not that much going on. Let's take a look around the place. There are some people revolting. They probably would be fixed for the most part. Players were dwindling. Oh yeah, that's fair. National Guard, I really like that one. Culture exclusion. Often there's not much point for going for culture exclusion as a European, because you do not actually get any more cultures accepted with this, but you lose some authority. They are still a monarchy, so that's one thing they can be proud of. The Orleanists are staying in power for almost 100 years now. That's not too bad. Free trade, proportional taxation, commercialized agriculture, good institutions, compulsory. I mean, the laws are pretty good at this point. And as I said, it's not that late in the game, so to be fair, if someone didn't have something, they would still have quite a bit of time to change things. Like if we went to the full end date. Quick look at technologies, actually. I assume a lot of people will have the entire tree done, actually. France is very close to actually finishing this. Did they build additional universities? Not really. Did they actually are below their cap, so they're really not investing much in technology. feel the game running slower on this. Yeah, they don't have tanks yet. Yeah, I think a lot of people will have the entire technology tree fulfilled, but we shall see. Let's take a quick look at their market. Oil. That's going to be interesting to see. Yeah, they're mostly importing from Canada. Okay, wait, Canada is independent. Or, well, they're not independent, they have their own market. It could be that Great Britain got hit in some kind of war and they lost all of their convoys, then AIs usually demand their own market. And usually they go back once things are fixed on their own. Yes, you don't really have to push them that way. It's interesting that for now Canada is the main supporter of the French oil market. Soviet and Italians also giving quite a bit. Italians are producing. Let's actually take a look at producer of oil. Russia is the first, which is to be expected after the recent buffs. They have just so much. United States also have so much. Argentina number 3. Interesting. And Austro-Hungary with their god tier oils in Galicia. Argentina has oil? Just this is going a bit out of order, but oh, so apparently there was a deal between United Kingdom and USA agreed to give back Canada. Apparently, they have taken it at some point to UK if they keep their own market. Where do they have their oil? Seems like they've built all of it. Well, going 8 out of 5 will certainly increase the maximum amount you have. And I should be able to see where's potentials. Oh, apparently there's a good amount in Bolivia. 52, 30. A lot of very small ones. Still, it's not as massive as I would expect. So I guess maybe the world's production of oil is actually not as big as I think. Oh, this 52 is out of 30 apparently. Oh yeah, that does help. Interesting. Doubling the production. Oh my god, this game, man. This game sometimes. Okay, let's get back to France. Just a bit of a detour. Did you guys try to do this Argentina stacking of oil on purpose, or did it just happen on its own? Because I know that private investment can lead to this. Yeah, let's take a look what France is being major producer of. Wine, steamers, and hardwood. Also, they managed to actually recover a chunk of their own economy, so they own 40% now. Belgium is a major investor in the French economy, which is interesting because the East India Company used to be dominating one, but Belgium actually managed to catch up, and Scandinavia as well, overtaking Germany, for example. And France also investing in Brazil, Argentina, Scandinavia. They're making 2 million in national revenue. I don't think that's that much. They have 1 million troops, which, to be fair, is not too bad. They have professional armies, though it's not the highest quality. 9th fleet, below Scandinavia. British and German capitalists were both racing to build them, and it just bugged. Oh, so apparently it just happened on its own. Because the player-built economies have so much private investment, they just build it up so much. Well, France, they are still a great power, which I don't think was a given considering some points of the campaign. Their laws are decent, and they do have a colonial empire, which is not too bad, though not really great as well. There is some space in the... The German capitalists screwed up Argentina so much. I'll see when I get there. Okay, that's interesting. Where do I put France? I'm thinking between B and C. I think I would put them at B for the time being. I think there's going to be some space down here in the lower tiers, and it's going to be filled. But for the time being, France goes into B. Let's get the roulette going. Finland. Finland wasn't played because the Finnish player took over Russia. So let's just take a quick look for fun and see how they're doing. Because I've taken a brief look at some stuff, and it's not the Finland I knew. Hey Joacho. So first of all, they're no longer part of the Russian Empire or the Comintern. They're part of NATO. NATO exists, which it has some interesting members. So Portugal and also Japan for some reason. Yeah, actually, when just taking a look at the power blocks all over the place, there haven't been major changes. Austria-Hungary doesn't have their own power block at all currently. Poland left the Comintern. Romania is still part of it. Yeah, Finland left Comintern to join NATO. India is still in the British Empire. Philippines are part of Italy. Brazil is still part of the Comintern. Argentina is still part of the German power block. NATO is the Central and the North America for the most part. America got the colonial empire in the end. Yeah, I guess kind of. Yeah, apparently United States have had some resurgence at the end of the game, and probably, I think the Americans on both sides are favored toward the end game. And Brazil and Argentina for sure made a comeback greater than probably the player themselves expected. Let's take a look. Are they top producers of anything? No. Well, that's unfortunate. They're actually quite badly behind on economy. They still have mercantilism. The laws... they're not terrible, but not great as well. Looking if there's something interesting happening somewhere in Finland. There is... all the foreign investments done by Russia and Finland was removed, but that's probably because... yeah, cooperative ownership. So... when you have cooperative ownership, yeah, they lost all the investments they had in other nations, somehow. Joacha, when I see how the new war turned out, I am unsure we should touch the immigration MNO. I don't think they even have multiculturalism. That's a good question. Brazil has it. Argentina doesn't, but remember they're both part of customs union, like both with Germany and Russia, and they were probably a huge part of what the population they got. And I don't think they're supposed to be. Like, if we look at major mass migration, currently there's a bunch going to India, one to UK, and one to... oh, there's people fearlessly typing. Oh, so all the foreign investments became worker-owned by workers. Okay, so that's... if you have a lot of investments, do not go cooperative ownership. Yeah, I think Brazil and Argentina got most of their pop from market migration, but we'll take a look at them when it's going to be their time. But, I mean, Finland still kept Pola and East Karelia, and they're actually better states than they are at the beginning of the game. They still have 5 million population, which... is that more than they have currently? Like, in real life? It's close, right? How many people live in Finland? 5.5 million. They're just below, and they have been actually losing population for a while. Before they joined the American bloc, I'm sure they had more population than they have right now. Investments is how it should work. Yeah. Oh, you guys are talking that apparently the Argentinian Brazilian economy is owned by Germans? Yeah, and UK. Though probably the removal of the Russian investments in a lot of places also changed things. But yeah, they do not own their their own economy that much. Georgia is dying. Send your Fs. Yeah, overall, I think Finland still goes into A. Almost S, to be honest. Like, really. Just as much. If a player managed to achieve this much as Finland, it would probably be an S. But as a player, it's actually more difficult. Let's see, who's next? No, Iberia, which hasn't been played, I think, for quite a while, so it's going to be another quick one. Let's see. Hammerhold, remember to resubscribe again, thank you. What's this? This is the flag? That doesn't look too good. I mean, it's better than some of them. Jambi doesn't exist anymore, but that's probably the worst flag. Oh, Germany owns Taiwan. Didn't notice that one. But yeah, is there any kind of Spanish Empire left? Actually, there is. The Spanish African Morocco, I think, yeah, it's part of the Italian power bloc. And there's Puerto Rico is part of Iberia still. Cuba is part of NATO, of course. And they have 48 million GDP, which for comparison is less than Romania, I think. Yeah, less than Romania, just barely. Less than Turkey. Less than Poland, despite having twice the population almost. And they have been losing population quite a bit since the... Oh my, yeah, that's a sad story for Iberia. Oh yeah, Portugal used to be part of them. They got released, I think. They're not part of any power bloc, which is interesting that they managed to stay independent, though at the same time, maybe not. It was probably better for everyone involved, they just stayed independent. Behind on tech, as you'd expect. Yeah, I don't think Iberia is a good place. They have their own oil. Yeah, Spain is not horrible, but they go into sea. For sure. And it does make sense, they are worse off than France. Like, I would expect Spain to do a bit better. They do have decent colonies in Africa, but they lost a lot of what they start with. So I think that's fair. Yeah, doing those non-player nations relatively quickly, just so we keep going. There's a ton of nations to do, and I would prefer not to stay here till 2 AM, which might happen anyways. Okay, UK, so that's another big one. Let's just remove this roulette. Let me make sure there's no dropped frames or anything, because it's still first time doing a real stream in a new place. I mean, it's still working quite nicely. If my PC could handle it, I think at this point, like, my internet connection is good enough that my PC's problem when it comes to doing more streaming. So first of all, when checking UK is their investments, and they own 400% of their GDP, which, to be fair, their GDP is not that impressive. They own, oh my god, they own 40% of the United States economy. Hot damn, 20% of Brazil, 14% of Argentina, 10% of France, 50% of Canada almost. Their GDP is not in, but yeah, here you can see. So their GDP is lower than French. Their population is about the same, more or less. But France makes about 2 million in revenue, and UK does 4 million. So I will make sure. Oh, UK even has per capita taxation, so they would make even more if they switch to proportional. But just let's make sure. UK is on normal, medium taxes. France is on medium as well. And they're making their national revenue is half. Yeah, and stuff like minting and so on should be about the same, though UK might be making a lot of money from let's see. Not that much money from diplomatic pacts, because I assume India is a protectorate. That's right, and very unhappy at that. Yeah, consumption taxes. Oh, I guess consumption taxes are a thing. 2 million. Is it really just mostly consumption taxes? Income taxes is 1.2 million. Yeah, so UK is making for about the same from consumption taxes as France does in total, which, to be fair, having the ownership from investments is going to increase the amount of money you make from consumption taxes, because the capitalists get a lot of money and they spend it on stuff. And yeah, it's luxury clothes, it's a lot of stuff that the capitalists would be using. But let's just do another quick check. How much money is France making from consumption taxes? Not that much, though they have very close the amount. Also, you can see the difference in Sol, which is showing the precise thing I'm talking about. So yeah, the difference in investments does matter when it comes to your national income, though in this particular example it's extremely exaggerated. So Great Britain owns pretty much 500% of their GDP, and France owns about 100% of their GDP. And UK has twice the... I mean, they would have more than twice if they had the same tax laws. Like, they're at the level where the graduated taxation, probably on the higher levels, it would probably give them even more money. But I don't want to click anything in case the save breaks, which might happen. So that's interesting. The investments are making a difference, though I'm still not sure. Still thinking about, is it worth it what France did? Just let people build you up just to gain the GDP. I mean, I guess it's better to do this than just not have the GDP, and then France, I think, benefited in the end more than everyone who invested in them, and like the benefits to investors were split between a few people anyways. Yeah, sure, Hammerhead. Probably is going to be a while before I get to India, though if you wouldn't mind letting me know what was the deal with... I know the Tibet thing, and maybe the Mongolia was part of also of it, but how did all of China became part of India? I mean, I know how it happened technically, but how did it happen diplomatically is one thing I wonder. What was it? Oh yeah, investments. So yeah, I guess just having a lot of investors should be worth it, and then you start investing in other people. Apparently it was last session shenanigans. Yeah, that's pretty big deal. Can I see? Yeah, most of it is not even core. Oh my god, no. How did that happen? Did I click? Oh, if you click this, it unpauses. Which is pretty annoying, but now I have to reload. God knows what AI could have done in 3 seconds. Oh, apparently people just kind of let Simon, the German player, is saying that people just kind of let, at least they let India do it because it was last session and they just did it for fun, which is fair enough. But yeah, so the investment in the end is paying off to UK. The GDP is not impressive. It used to be a bit higher, but not that much. Their population is not too bad, actually. I mean, it's about the same level as Brazil, but it's about where you think UK would be. I mean, they have more people than France, at least, so that's something. I think with all the mass migration, I would kind of expect UK to be much higher, but I'm not sure what was happening in the last few sessions. They did manage, when it comes to like political goals of UK, they did manage to keep Canada, despite in their own market. They do have some stuff in Africa. I'm surprised no one went for Egypt in the end. Though they do own Suez Canal, so that's good for them. And India, for good and bad, still is part of the British Empire, though who is the leader at this point? The real leader is up for debate, I guess. Chinchral still exists, apparently. Sure. Australia is still a thing. I think let's just before I make the rank. Oh, I'm surprised UK doesn't have everything. Yeah, everything in military, finishing up society. I'm surprised UK doesn't have everything. Though they are below the literacy cap as well. Guess maybe they just never bothered to actually invest in the universities. Which I suppose is fair enough. I mean, as long as they have everything they need. Maybe it's not really necessary. And might be a good opportunity to look at the market of the British Empire. They're importing a ton of oil from a lot of people. Like everyone is actually... Egypt is giving them 1,000 oil. Okay. Hawaii is giving them 30 oil. Well, that's a ton. They do have quite a bit of convoys. So that's... yeah, almost 300,000 convoys. What's their biggest trade route? Oil in revenue, but in costs? Opium. They're exporting opium to Germany. 4,000 convoys. There's so many trade routes, over 1,000. That's a lot of trade. How much are they getting to investment pool from their trade? 2.8 million reinvestment. 33k. Yeah, that's not impressive. With this much trade, they're only getting this reinvestment. Yeah, I think using trade centers as a way to make money for to the private market is not really viable. They do have free trade. And the taxation law is a bit worrying. They do have mass conscription, which is pretty nice. They are still a monarchy. Women's suffrage, which of course you want at the end game because it takes a really long time to get the workforce ratio to change. Private health insurance still, which might be part of the explanation why the population of UK is not that high. I mean, right now it's probably doesn't matter that much, but for the majority of the game, well, they're actually #1 in standard of living, which this is probably helping quite a bit, though it is mostly helping the top strata, but still, it is kind of splitting all over. They have probably a ton of upper strata comparatively. And like if you were to look at charts, yeah, almost 2 million capitalists, almost the same amount of capitalists as clergymen. That's a ton. And their power block things, military industry, I think they changed it from something, which for endgame wars, probably a good idea. Yeah, a solid A for UK. What are the leader producer? British 9. They're not leading producer of anything, I guess. They have power blocks in a lot of places, which I guess not too bad of an idea at the late game when you have almost, well, over 7,000 construction. Fair enough. How much construction did France have? I wasn't really looking at that. Yeah, that's not too much. Definitely not too much. Which at this point of the game, like even they are gaining 700,000 pots every year, and with changes of yeah, they have women's suffrage as well. Changes in workforce ratio, they have actually even more. 1,000, is it enough to manage jobs for those people? I mean, maybe. I'm not exactly sure how the calculation worked out. But, I mean, at this point as a great power, you probably want to do some investments at least. But yeah, let's keep going. See who's going to be the next one. And it's Austria, the judge economics. Let's see how they worked out in the end. Oh yeah, Austria, yeah, the Austria-Hungary looks a bit more like Hungary than Austria right now. Apparently Germany had a bit of a, you know, mustache man moment and decided all Germans should live in Germany, and apparently Austrians are included in this definition, according to the game, I guess, as well. The game agrees. And all of this went to Germany, which Austria is actually a really good state. Still, I mean, overall, it's like 7% of the German economy, but German economy is absolutely huge. It's second in the game, almost $1 billion in 1912, which means if they had even a few more years. Yeah, so apparently Anschluss happened. Was it like a massive war, or was it relatively peaceful? Also, this wasn't even court. Did it just happen before the end of the campaign, or... Apparently there was a war and Austria did better than expected by Germany. But why didn't you core them? Simon, did you forget to core them? It was last session, okay. So maybe that was just not really relevant. Austria-Hungary is not a great power anymore. They are quite far away from being one, despite having, I mean, pretty significant army. Though if you look at, I remember noticing that Egypt has 100 battalions, which is not that few, and they are number 17. Yeah, Iran has almost 400, and still India has over 2,000. Someone was a bureaucracy briefly. Egypt? Or Austria? Oh yeah, Austria is communist. Communist was a theocracy for a moment, apparently. Okay, they have state religion still. Decent institutions, tenant farmers still. They are trying to change their taxation pretty late in the game. Though graduated taxation does not give them more money, but Georgia apparently is of the mind that graduated taxation is better for your economy because the money that it doesn't take gives... so graduated taxation gives you less money directly than proportional, but proportional taxation takes money from the economy, while graduated taxation leaves the money and takes the money that wouldn't go to the economy. I think that's the theory. So in that, according to that theory, graduated taxation is better overall for your economy. Though some experts disagree, but anyway, per capita taxation is the worst option, so just changing from it is probably a good idea. They are on agrarianism as well, and they have mercantilism. That's some interesting sets of stuff all over the place. And I'm not sure about some of them. They do have good legitimacy at least, so that's something. Let's take a look at technologies. They did build up a few universities, looks like. Yeah, 800. And they don't have tanks, missing a few techs here and there, but really close to ending. Like, most of the people would have finished the tech tree by 1920s from what we've seen so far. Let's take a quick look at their markets, trade routes as well. Exporting fine art, apparently the Hungarian fine art going to United States. Well, the anime in this world must be really strange. They're importing a ton of rubber from people, which does make a lot of sense. They have, for Austria, they have decent amount of convoys, and a lot of the convoys are free, surprisingly enough. The market on its own. Sulfur being, yeah, there's no sources of sulfur in Austria-Hungary except for Venetia, which is often lost. So it's not too surprising that it's one of the most desired goods. Their GDP, though, still number 6, above France and UK and Italy, double the Italian GDP, though below Brazil. I mean, Austria-Hungary, when it comes to GDP, is doing better than expected, I guess. I mean, they are supposed to be one of the sick men. They do not have their own power block. They're making more money than France when it comes to national revenue. So if we look at the board, they do have a colonial empire which, you know, it is bigger than the historical one. Though that's not really saying much. But they lost Austria, and despite this, they're still in a decent position, and their population is actually really good. They still have more pops than the United States, and that's because they had, for the longest time, they had the power block mandate that gave you the food standards, basically. I mean, I guess it's for Austria-Hungary. Is it a B or a C? I mean, they're definitely stronger than France, but losing Austria is pretty rough, man. And there's not really much to cover for it. As great as the African colonies are, it's not really compensation. France lost Alsace-Lorraine, but they still have Paris, at least. Yeah, Austria-Hungary is doing... It's a kind of a reverse of France, actually. So France is doing pretty badly on a lot of metrics when it comes to like GDP, even population to a certain extent, and so on. But their empire and political influence is actually pretty decent. Like they have Scandinavia in as well. They have their own colonies that are pretty close to what they achieved in real life. Meanwhile, Austria, yeah, they have no more influence in Balkans that they start with. Like basically they gained a few colonies in Africa and lost Austria, and they don't even have their own power block. So yeah, I think it's a decent B. But on the other hand, their GDP, their population, and other metrics are really good. That's kind of interesting how it's reversed, basically. Okay, let's keep going. Italy, okay. That's, if I recall, number 10 in GDP. Let's take a quick look. And number 10, though it's not particularly impressive. They had down a little bit. Maybe it was some kind of war or something. I mean, number 10, but that means they're just behind Great Britain. Let's see, who's behind them? Indonesia is coming right up. Japan, which has not been played, which is kind of impressive that AI is doing that well. Scandinavia is getting up there as well. Mexico and Iran then. They are not a great power. Oh, apparently Italy had a civil war over the monarchy, which is the cause of this GDP dip, which does make a lot of sense. Looks like the monarchy lost. They're about to get mass conscription, which is usually pretty good. They have mercantilism, per capita taxation, which is not great. Religious school still, which, I mean, I'm kind of mind that maybe religious schools are just straight up better than public schools, as long as you can handle the more the stronger clergy, because conversion is actually pretty nice when assimilation is absolutely worthless. I mean, assimilation does help you with the game lag, so it's something, but conversion does that to a certain extent. No, not really. That doesn't really help with that, I don't think, because the pops are going to be different anyways. Did they actually build up the institution? They could do more. Their institutions overall are not really that maxed. How are they doing on technology? Not as well as a lot of people. Oh, in military they're actually kind of rough, and society, Italy is not doing that great. Yeah, they're below limit, and they probably did start being a bit behind throughout the campaign. They're making £1 million in national revenue. That's including the investment pool transfer. It's actually not that much. 50 million people living in Italy overall, slightly less than France, so that's not too bad. Their colonial empire is Libya, Somalia, Eritrea, I guess. And they also control Morocco, and Philippines. They have their Mediterranean Pact, which is a sovereign empire with no mandates and 3 members in total. Oh yeah, and they're a major power actually. Well, their colonies are kind of nice, but they're about what I would expect from Spain, I suppose. Yeah, overall I'm not really impressed with how Italy is looking, to be honest. Though, am I not impressed enough to put them in C? Oh yeah, I should look at the Austrian ownership. Yeah, they've kept most of their economy owned by themselves. Just some investments from Germany. And they made a lot of investments in Russia. It's mostly Russia that they own. Just interesting that you can own buildings. Yeah, I guess it doesn't change the investments, though they're certainly lower, but I assume it's the player doing nationalizations that actually lowered the amount of buildings. Those investments from Germany. The stuff that they conquered in their states. So you mean Germany took some states and then gave them back to Austria-Hungary? How would that work? Because Germany took Austria and now it doesn't count as the 8% of Germany owning buildings in what remains of it. No, but look, it's... Germany still has 600 buildings in Hungary. And over here, yeah, I guess those 200 buildings are investments, but that's actually not that many. Yeah, this is what I'm thinking about. So back to Italy. They are certainly doing better than Spain, though they have been played, I think, pretty much the entire campaign. Well, yeah, it's tough because they're definitely the worst out of the remaining great powers. But at the same time, Italy does start in the worst position. Yeah, Joachim, you missed Austria. Just by some time, unfortunately. Too bad you will have to watch the VOD on YouTube. Or, I guess, Twitch. Yeah, so Italian colonial empire is slightly better than what they had in real life, but probably the puppets are actually relatively recent, especially the Morocco seems like. Do they even have a truce? Yeah, they even have a truce, so it just happened. Though they did actually form Italy, and they haven't lost. I mean, they don't have South Tyrol and Istria, but that's not really that important. They've managed to keep Savoy instead. Yeah, I guess they're going to be. If there's going to be too many people in B, I will be knocking people down. But for now, let's keep them in B. First down will be probably France, so we shall see. Let's for the sake of France, hope there's not too many people showing up there. U.S. of India, I guess. United States of India. Oh, I didn't switch the roulette. It's India, but it was almost United States. So let's see how India looks right now. It seems like it would be a bit of a mess with all of this stuff conquered. They have quite a few radicals, but they have equal amount of loyalists. They are Council Republic with laissez-faire, which I guess, yeah, that works, I suppose. Universal suffrage, multiculturalism, because why not? Yeah, the laws are really good actually overall. Hard to find something that it's not that great, and they have all institutions which for such a massive population, I mean right now it's even greater, but yeah, full healthcare system with a few 100 million population. That's pretty good. The GDP is of course absolutely massive. They have 16,000 construction, 17 million national revenue, barely any consumption taxes, though I assume it's just because of their laws. Yeah, they're probably the lead producer of almost everything. Yeah, clippers. They're number 2 producer of clippers. Who's even using clippers now? Number 2 of coal, lead, hardwood, liquor, coffee. Yeah, the world runs on Indian. Made in India, I guess. The biggest military as well. Technology, I heard they did build a lot of universities, and even they are not finished with tech. They're researching the last one. I really thought more people would be done with the tech tree, and even Indians are not. So India is absolutely like, they have massive economy, massive population, great laws. So like even for India, it's clearly well managed, but they are not independent, and I don't think I can put India in S tier if they are still a minor power. I mean, sure, they did conquer China, but they're a minor power. So I think it's only going to be A. Yeah, they're a communist company with laissez-faire as well. Yeah, conquering India is not hard, though it like having it happen. Everyone else could have done it, but they were the only ones who actually did it. But they're a minor power, so they are staying in A. Despite having almost double the prestige of Germany. Oh damn. Yeah, I mean still it's if it was independent, it's easy S, but without it, not really. It's pretty fast. Did I forget to look at something? Oh yeah, I guess I could look at their investments. They own so many buildings, it is just 5% because it's calculated from their own GDP. I mean, that's not actually that many buildings compared to like UK and so on. Yeah, you can see there's way more investments in India itself than the other way around. What's their investment pool? Yeah, it's still bigger than UK, I think. Quite a significant margin. But still interesting that they actually haven't been investing that much. But yeah, let's keep going. Still plenty of nations left. Poland. Was Poland played every session till the end? So there's really been some interesting stuff happening there. Apparently they were being played the entire time, which is interesting because first of all they are independent. They are not part of any power bloc. They have alliance with Germany, but they're not a subject of any kind. Trade agreement, investment rights. They don't own any buildings outside, and people own 50% of their GDP. Do they still have peasants? No, not really. Technology is rough. Not the worst though. 50 million GDP, which is about the same level as, yes, just better than Spaniards. Every GP supported their independence when the USSR formed. Yeah, I figured something like that would happen. Like, did happen, I guess, I should say. And they have laissez-faire, free trade, monarchy, oligarchy, which oligarchy is actually pretty good. If you're not going to go full... Oh, they had a revolution, I think, at some point, which changes the order of the laws. If you're not going full for universal suffrage, it's better to just stay on oligarchy, because then you'd have the -10 legitimacy penalty from ideological incompatibility, which I think is really strong in most cases. Yeah, good institutions. And that they did get just all of their lands for free, including Kaunas, which is not exactly core Polish territory. But they did manage to get independent and keep their independence, not gaining much more from anyone in the area. Not Krakow as well, which was eventually annexed into Austria-Hungary, though it was independent for a really long time. Now, Finland did also gain those provinces, but they weren't played, I don't think. Yeah, their market is really tiny. It's like 10 million population. GDP per capita is decent, but I don't think there's even that many states left, so 17 might not be that great. Yeah, a lot of rubber. There's a lot of stuff those 4,000 convoys have to handle. Yeah, I think they're slightly less impressive than Finland, so they go into B. Still pretty nice. Oh, that's not looking great for France, but we shall see. Let's get their roulette going. And it's Russia, of course, fittingly red. Well, let's see what happened when I was gone. Well, clearly a lot, but let's look at more details. So, 1,600 construction, that's really not a lot, especially for this construction. When you're gaining over 2 million, I'm pretty sure that's not even enough to handle stuff. And there's not that much in foreign investments in Russia as well. Though, of course, a lot of it was nationalized, if I understand things correctly. 600 million GDP is about where, I mean, Russia could have gone a bit more, simply because of having a huge population. Overtaking the United States would be definitely possible, but Germany has a massive population compared to where they usually would be. They have almost the same population as Russia itself, and partially because Russia doesn't have, for example, Poland or Finland, but also Germany got a ton of migrants from all over the place. Like Turkey Turkey, which is part of the German market. If you look at their population, it's a bit of a spoiler for talking about Turkey. But look at this black hole of population in the Balkans. All of it was sacked off into Germany. Germany sacked off Turkey. Just clear everything. And let's look at the laws. Cooperative ownership. Universal suffrage into single party state. Interesting. State religion. Okay, that wasn't a change ever, despite me trying like 3 times. Proportional taxation, protectionism. I mean, I guess for a communist nation, that's it's not ideal. Still, legal guardianship at this point of the game, probably you don't really want that. There is some peasants, yeah, because the construction is fairly low for this point of the game. 2 million national revenue. That's not great. That's about the level of what France has. It is low tax. Okay, so that's actually way higher if only the taxes were increased. Why are they so low? I mean, there's plenty of loyalists. The standard of living is still not that high. Yeah, I mean, I don't think they have any reinvestment. Yeah, basically they have none reinvestment. They would have to handle it on their own construction. So right now there's definitely not enough just new buildings for the pops. Even just those showing up. Does Russia have bigger population increase than... No way, right? Oh, wow. Russia has actually bigger population growth than India currently. Like in absolute numbers. Germany as well, but it is a bit different because there's also migration to take into account. But in absolute numbers, that's still... This was one of my war goals, goals of the campaign back when I played this, having huge population growth, which rethink Poland was probably not helping the idea. But interesting that it still managed to be so high. Though in the end, it's... I mean, still... Germany actually has, I think, way more impressive population for their size, though it is 1912, so Russia definitely doesn't have too bad of a population. And yeah, I have also built a ton of universities even back when I played. And yeah, I think if a bit few more were even built. All military, all society, finishing, production. Yeah, so pretty good when it comes to technology for sure. Power block. So yeah, Poland left, Finland left. Romania is still, though, interestingly enough, Romania is no longer a vassal. I'm not sure how that happened. Hawaii left the bloc somehow. Not really sure how that happened. Brazil is still part of it, and Alaska is still uncolonized despite trying to colonize it the entire campaign. Which is something that happens apparently in this game now. The army is absolutely massive, though it's still number 3. And, well, pretty much the same as Germany. And yeah, I guess Germany would be probably way stronger simply because they have way more money, I assume. But other than that, it would be pretty equal. Yeah, the technology is definitely in there. Market oil, yeah, the oil production is pretty significant. And there's really not that much export going on, interestingly enough. I think that Russia would be exporting absolutely massive amount. And let's remember, Brazil is also part of the market. And they are not really exporting that much. So I guess the rubber is being used locally, so that's fair enough. Who's the bigger producer of cars? I mean, obviously it's going to be India, but number 2 Germany, and number 3 Brazil. That's interesting. So when it comes to political goals of Russia, they are keeping Romania, they lost Poland, they lost Finland. This part was ceded to Iran, which in the end didn't get in the... maybe it was part of the Comintern for a while, but it is not anymore. The border regions were taken from India in the end, and Alaska is still Russian, which is also something. And of course, the crown of the Comintern is Brazil. Keeping Alaska, I think, is pretty interesting. I don't think it often happens. Yeah, so there's a mixed bag, because losing Poland and Finland is definitely pretty bad, but keeping Brazil in the power block is pretty nice. And despite even losing all of this, Brazil is great power pretty much on its own. I mean, even if they are not technically, they have huge GDP, and they could probably. They don't own much of their economy, but it's still not too bad compared to France, for example. Oh yeah, the Russian population is 133 million, despite donating God knows how many people to Brazil. Like, there's probably still a ton of Russians in here. Million Ukrainians, almost million Russians. Yeah, million Russians, Belarusians, and then Lithuanians on top. And let's not forget, a lot of those people were actually assimilated, I assume. So it's it was even more at some points. I think Russia. I might be a little biased, just a little bit, but I think Russia goes into A tier for an overall result. It's kind of a mixed bag politically, but build-up is, I mean, GDP is about where you'd think it would be. Technology is pretty nice, being on top of that. And laws are pretty mixed, but I assume it's partially a result of actually tenant farmers. That's interesting. Everybody hates it, but it's still tenant farmers, okay. I assume part of the reason why the laws are as they are is because of the revolution. Might have caused some issues at some point. Bankrolling Austria-Hungary. Is Russia making more money than Austria-Hungary? No. Okay, interesting. I guess maybe the war ended relatively recently? Do they still have a truce with Germany? Yeah. Oh, I guess 2 years ago the war ended, so bankrolling maybe is understandable. But yeah, let's keep going, because there's still a lot of nations. Though we are running out of great powers, so there's going to be a lot of AIs left in the end, I assume. And Brazil, so we're staying in the Comintern. I don't think Brazil is communist, but let's find out. Yeah, their GDP is pretty impressive for their size, overtaking Austria-Hungary, France, Great Britain, getting close to Russia, and having 60 million pops almost. Yeah, this curve is... Just look at this, how fast it was increasing, god damn. And it's mostly immigrants, because when you see here, it's just 1% annual projected growth. So they don't really have even... Is there... I guess their standard of living is high enough that it's actually lowering their population growth. Because they have full hospitals, and they do get the bonus from food standardization as well. What are the leader producer of? In quite a few things, actually. Coffee, steamers, rubber, engines, number 3. Automobiles, number 3. Yeah, I mean, Brazil is not doing that much in terms of tech, but still, oh, military is a bit behind, which, as the South Americans do, being behind on tech. Not too badly overall, though. I mean, I think Brazil is going to be the first S tier. frankly. Like, just by the GDP alone, and they still, like, when it comes to their own political goals, their own, at least Bolivia, they don't have... They're not a great power on their own, but I think it's not really viable. Like, you're not really expecting Brazil to become a great power, really, as you'd expect, like, Italy to become a great power. And probably if things were kind of different, if we had the game going for another 10-15 years, they would probably... They might leave the Comintern, or if not, then just gain their own colonies or maybe something like that. I think S tier for Brazil is understandable. They do have this one problem, which is not owning their own economy. Oh my god. Almost 2,000 buildings by Germany, 1,000 by UK, 600 by United States, and this is after losing all the buildings that the Russians built, and they certainly built a ton way back when. They're not making that much money, but that's because the taxes are low. And they do have proportional taxation. Command economy. And they are actually going communist. So those guys are becoming council. They went command economy before becoming a council republic, and India is council republic for being classified. But they also don't have... I mean, they're closer to what they need when it comes to construction. That's probably still not enough. Do they even have an investment pool? No, they don't. Which makes sense. There's just 140k stuck in there. So I guess with command economy, they don't really care about not having their own GDP. I mean, that's still just less money they have, I assume. Though it does make nationalization a bit easier for them. And 25% authority for a nation that needs a ton of greener grass campaigns. That's not too bad. Yeah. Good game for Brazil. We might not see a Brazil like this for quite a while. Because I think South America is a tough place. The United States, who apparently had a bit of a resurgence till the end of the campaign, when I was playing they weren't doing that great. But clearly they are doing something right about now. So, they're number 3 in GDP, number 1 in GDP per capita, 80 million, which is decent, but maybe United States could do better? I'm not exactly sure. I mean, in single player probably, but they lost a ton of mass migrations early on to UK and then probably to Germany and so on. I mean, I think Germany hogged a ton of mass migration overall. They're going to multiculturalism right now, though it might not happen. Yeah, they just started, so it might happen or might not. They're guaranteed independence of Romania, so maybe that's why they're not a protectorate. Maybe there was like a war against Russia to free everyone, which would make sense. I don't know if there's any vassals left. Or I guess subject, I should say. Yeah, it looks like that's what happened. Yeah, back to laws, presidential republic, universal suffrage, cultural exclusion, which is... yeah, not getting this till now was a bit of a problem. Mass conscription, really good. Good institutions. Graduated taxation, interesting. And not proportional. Laissez-faire, of course. Women's suffrage. Good institutions. Good standard of living, definitely respectable. Number 2. Not that close to Great Britain, but really not too bad. Their market. Yeah, just importing the Hungarian art. Yeah, Germans and Indians are top producers. India is producing more art than everyone else combined, but art is kind of weird sometimes. I'm not really sure what dictates the pop consumption of it. Sometimes it's kind of weird. Yeah, I mean, the economy of the United States is definitely where it should be. About number 3 is where I would usually put them. Technology, yeah, someone else, they didn't build universities as well, but they are close to finishing the technology tree as well. And NATO is definitely pretty impressive overall. Like they lost kind of influence in South America, and they didn't gain Alaska. They could go for Hawaii if they only wanted to, but I guess they just never bothered. So this is a bit of a stain on the American political goals. Texas never got oil apparently. Oh, that sucks. I mean, it's for endgame, it's relatively early, so I can see why that happened. And yeah, I mean, also getting Finland and Portugal is and Japan, it is kind of compensating losing, especially Japan. And I mean, Finland and Portugal are kind of not really that relevant, but Japan is even as controlled as AI, is a decent nation. Where, I mean, it was a while ago, I guess, when they became protectorate. I mean, economy is about where you think. Political goals are about where you think. They kind of, I think, United States are one of the nations that will have benefited the most from playing like 10 years more. And things might have looked very differently. Their army is, if I recall, not really that impressive compared to other top nations. And they're on mass conscription. I mean, I guess they don't have to worry about getting directly invaded by pretty much anyone, but at the same time, and the way Victoria 3 works... Wait, where are those guys going? Liberia. Oh, there's civil war in Liberia, and they're sending 300 battalions. Isn't that a bit overkill, Nicole? What do you think? Yeah, it looks like they definitely had a part in keeping places like Romania independent from Comintern, though it didn't quite work out. I think, was United States played by AI for a session or something like that? India to S tier is being moved by Hammerhead. Well, what can I say? Except that's just gonna happen. Yeah, so United States are between A and B for me. Oh, played all sessions, but by different players, which is interesting as well. That's also something to consider. And they did manage to free at least Cuba, for example. Well, not that much. I mean, they definitely lost ground in America. There's not much to discuss here. Yeah, I remember that. I think it wasn't Tommy also playing it for one session? Or am I just confusing it with something else? Or did he just Diplo or something? Oh yeah, Tommy just played France. Oh, how much construction do they have? Almost 4,000. That's not too bad. Their national revenue. Oh yeah, they have probably. No, they don't have that much investment. I mean, it's a fair amount of investment, but they also got heavily invested by UK. Heavily. It's like UK and Germany the only nations that have huge amount of GDP ownership. Yeah, I mean, the percentage on Germany doesn't look that impressive, but that's because they have much higher GDP than UK. What a king. You can really see that guy. Oh my. Get out of the way. Can I see it directly calculating? Number 2. That's not what I want to see. Yeah, I think UK, I mean India. India didn't do much investing in other places. I guess the small nations, Scandinavia, Argentina, how the mighty fall. They used to be the big investors world over. Yes, so I guess that the investors are UK, Germany, and Scandinavia. Everyone else, and I mean Austria-Hungary actually kind of as well in the end. They just kept a lot of their GDP and they invested in a fair amount as well. Turkey owns 80% of their GDP, but that's just because their GDP is not high. Is it in Germany? Yeah, mostly in Germany and Ethiopia. So it's interesting. Iberia owns... yeah, their GDP is also pretty tiny, though it's still fairly impressive actually. I mean, for their size. And they own all of their GDP. So Spain is actually one of the investors. But that's, yeah, overall it's interesting that there's relatively few nations that are really big investors. It's pretty much Germany, UK, and Scandinavia that have really good like percentage of foreign investments compared to their GDP. I guess Spain somehow. Hey Mixolov, it's been a while since I streamed. I guess let's put United States in A overall. They're probably the weakest in A for now, but let's just put them. Let's see what the roulette says now. And it's going to be Romania, which was played by AI for the majority of the campaign, so there's not going to be much to talk about, but just let's take a look. There might be something interesting going on. Yeah, there's like I switched to recording the single player campaigns directly to YouTube. I'm no longer streaming them because recording 3-4 hours at a time is kind of not viable for me for the most part. So I'm just recording it in smaller chunks, like about an hour or so, and just uploading it directly to YouTube. I'm not bothering to do Twitch streams for that. But I shouldn't get more into streaming if I could. But that's just difficult to get that. Romania still has legacy slavery, which they were trying to remove for the entire time when they were being played by a player. And what a king! But he's brave. Did they do any investments? Not much, actually. Yeah, that's probably the life of a subject. They don't really have much investments in places. Oof, technology is not looking great, but it's incredibly impressive. They actually have almost 50 million GDP, which like Spain really looks bad in comparison to all the other nations. Like, the Romanian GDP is pretty close to what Turkey has, while also having pretty close population, because yeah, Romania got all of the subjects of Russia got the premium treatment of taking the pops from Russia basically, and also benefiting from the power blocks principles, especially food standardization, which is super good. And they actually are still benefiting from it, so this is part of the reason they have such significant pop growth. But yeah, I mean, they didn't manage to retake stuff from Austria-Hungary. They basically just got Bessarabia and Dobruja, and they're kind of independent. I mean, overall, a ton, but that's also mixed between Ukrainians, Lithuanians, Belarusians. Yeah, they're number 3. So it's, if I calculate it like this, it's 12%, 14, 17, 18, and then just start becoming relatively small. But and it's also not calculating all the people that got integrated in the meantime. So yeah, there's Brazil is for the most part people from Russia. Which is why I think mass migration does require a bit of a rework, because I think if they weren't part of the customs union, both Brazil and Argentina would be in a pretty... like, they wouldn't be nearly as impressive as they are now. Still, it was a good move. Something they really needed to do. Yeah, Romania. I mean, Romania is not too bad, actually. Tier B is getting kind of overcrowded. There's not as many nations that are really wrecks as I kind of expected. But yeah, let's keep putting people in B and see what happens. Eventually, France will have to go down, I guess. We shall see. And it's Dutch East Indies, so the other great colony. It's probably going to be slightly less impressive than the British East India Company, but you know, not too much, most likely. Interesting. They're getting graduate taxation. GDP is not too bad. I mean, they're approaching the levels of Italy despite having, like what, half the population, more or less. Pretty decent national revenue. So this is also calculating, yeah, investment pool transfer. Are they one of... they're not really one of the investors, though they do own a decent amount of overseas investments. But they got built up quite a bit by other people as well. Their technology, they didn't invest that much into universities, though they're not... yeah, they are kind of behind. I'm surprised no one has researched the entire tech tree. At least, and maybe Germany did, but Russia and India are really close, but even they didn't manage to do it. I think currently they're just independent. Yeah, this was what it looks like. They have their own market, which is suffering in several places. Okay, apparently even Germany didn't get all tax. I think it was like Russia and India were really close and they were missing 1 and 2 techs. I'm not sure which one was which, but they were both like they would have the entire tech tree within 3 more years. Is Indonesia leader producer of anything? Number 3 producer of rubber, which is not very impressive. Yeah, sure. Chips join the VC when join the VC and go to Vietnam. When I'm talking about Scandinavia, feel free. That's why I actually joined there in the first place. Let's look at yeah, they're going for graduated, which I mean, there's not that much change, and apparently it would be better for their economy, so fair enough. Universal suffrage, national militia. National militia is interesting because the 5% conscription rate is actually like crazy for some. Though that's 25 million is not that high. And also at some point you have to also consider the amount of provinces. Indonesia certainly has a decent amount of those. Like for example, Belgium with a national militia gets 200 battalions, and that's it. So they probably are better off getting mass conscriptions even when they just want to go for the minimalist army with national militia. If you run the game, both East India Company and Germany go bankrupt by AI within 3 years. Yeah, I could see that happening. Though I'm surprised about Germany. I mean, India, I guess it just doesn't deal with all of this expansion, but Germany, I mean, I think AI would be able to handle it. I'm not surprised that they would lose like 20% or even more percent of GDP instantly because AI just does stupid stuff. But going bankrupt is pretty impressive in a way. I mean, Indonesia is independent. And they own, I mean, almost the majority of the stuff they should. It's not really, there's nothing really impressive. They own pretty much what I mean, that's kind of like consolidated, I guess. The Indian player says, I legit think it's because of the debuffs we put on changing PMs. The AI doesn't take it in mind and chases everything every week. Very likely, I think. I think that's very likely the case. Which is kind of a problem, but if we keep having as many players as we do, that's probably not too much of an issue, especially since in the early game there's not that many production methods to change. That very well might be in. Would it be possible to turn off the debuff for AIs? Maybe it would be. Yeah, the question is it just perfectly middle of the road playthrough from Indonesia? And I mean, I think, like, I'm kind of surprised by how low their population is, because Java is just usually so full of people. And I mean, they're doing okay when it comes to GDP. I mean, they're almost the level of Italy. Well, I think it's time to say sorry to France. It had to happen eventually. And it did. There might be some more people on the chopping block in B. But there cannot be that many people here. Tommy wanted to put France in F. Because they stayed monarchy. Okay, let's go back to the roulette. We are getting through those nations. Persia, I think Persia wasn't played for like the last session or so. If I recall, there was like a bit of a time period where they weren't being played. I almost clicked open for multiplayer. Yeah, Austria is probably next on the chopping block because they lost Austria, but Austria is just really, despite losing this, they're just so well built when it comes to population, GDP, army. They're not a great power and they don't have a power block. They even got a decent amount of ownership. I mean, chips, if you want to change things, you have the power. I assume the people haven't been using nulls that much throughout the campaign, so just with one click you can change this to your liking. Though, yeah, that would mean not having anything, and I don't think anyone nominated anyone from the awards, and as you can see, they're up here. There's still 3 awards. I didn't really came up with an idea for a third one, for the 4th one, so we're just staying with the typical 3 awards. But let's get back to Iran. I mean, they're definitely better off than Turkey in probably every meaningful way. Did Persia at any point join Russia, or not really? Because they might have joined and then got forced out when they became USSR. The laws are not ideal in a lot of ways. I guess national supremacy doesn't really matter when they are... No, they did expand a little bit in the north, so maybe the pops are not much of a problem actually. Well, they are discriminated, okay, so that's a bit annoying. We do one each, we can move Austria to Ottoman. Well, there is the Ottoman tier for a reason, someone has to be there. Might as well be Austria. Iran is... The laws are not that impressive actually overall. The institution... It was being played by AI for a while. Guys, again, did Iran join the Soviet power bloc at some point or not? Because I know there were plans for it when there was a player, but maybe it didn't end up happening. The market is... They are having very expensive food. Yeah, I like that. I think in this patch, what often ends up happening, people are switching from eating grain to eating fish if there's more of it available in the market, and it can lead to some fun results. But it's not the case here, but still. Okay, in the end, they didn't in time. So that would like give them a decent bonus to pops at least. But I guess Turkey just suffering the drainage to Germany. They weren't really going down, but they have about the same population they had when they started with, which is definitely not impressive, considering especially that they did expand a little bit when it comes to territory. But the population in those places is just... yeah, Basra has population like some desert. Yeah, Ankara is decent. There is some decent places in Turkey proper, but outside of it, it's a desert, desolate land. Yeah, I'm sure those oil fields are working great for Germany. Let's get back to Persia. No power block here. Technology. Oh, ooh, military is... damn. I mean, they probably didn't have money to go that much, but they... yeah, society is pretty backwards as well. Yeah, Iran, when it comes to like political goals, I mean, they just gained this, and other than that, they don't have Balochistan, which I think they have claim on. And no, because this is Afghanistan actually. So they did manage to gain Afghanistan and a little bit land to the north, but other than that, nothing really. So yeah, I think Iran has to go into sea. Not as great as I hoped. It's always nice to see a well-built-up Iran. Iran is a very interesting case because they have really good resources for industrialization. Like just having the basic coal and iron is not a given for a lot of nations. For example, Egypt heavily suffers from lack. They have silver, they have oil, obviously, they have lead, plenty of logging camps and fishing wharves. But they start with absolutely nothing. They have zero construction, they have terrible laws. Not the worst laws, they start with like professional army. But yeah, there's pretty much a free tabula rasa for everyone when it comes to Iran. And let's keep going. Almost there, we might make it before midnight, which would be pretty fast actually. Japan? Oh, well, that's... the wheel likes to tease the Germans. Let's look at Japan. Japan has been played for like 2 sessions maybe throughout the campaign, but their GDP is actually for an AI that became a theocracy, if I recall. They're a communist now. They got multiculturalism. AI got multiculturalism? I think this is the first time I'm seeing this. I don't remember ever seeing this. I assume it was done by AI. Institutions, well, about as good as you'd expect. Law is not perfect as well, but I mean, for an AI... oh, there was a player after the Urist left, but I wouldn't think they got... oh, they got regime change by India. Yeah, that would make sense. Okay, that would make a ton of sense. And that's why there's no one in power. Loser in revolutionary struggle. I assume it's just Paradox being dumb and putting in the same tooltip as in a revolutionary war. They're part of the American market, which is doing pretty well for them. Making okay, I mean, for their size, it's not great cash. Tech is better than Iran, which, I mean, that's fair enough. They get pretty good literacy usually, even though they have no universities. Oh, apparently India planned to conquer them in full if they didn't desync, which is why Tibet is free, for example. I mean, Japan for an AI is... I mean, you have actually expect Japan to do way more. Though for an AI, it was managed actually pretty okay. So it's decently... Still a bit surprising. I would expect them to be way worse. How are they doing on the investments? Terribly, as you'd expect. I hate it when you go directly to the right over here and you mouse over this, it removes the other tooltip. It's a bit annoying. And I keep doing it every time. Yeah, a ton of investments here. Yeah, they joined NATO. This is actually a big part why United States are in A tier. It works better if you start hovering over the house icon. Yeah, I guess. I think I need to make this, make the tooltip lock up even faster. I already sped it up before, but maybe it's still too slow. And let's get to the wheel. It's Belgium, which also hasn't been played for like the last 2 or 3 sessions, if I recall. Yeah, now I can see why you guys decided to end the campaign. A lot of nations were just played by AIs, which at this point just means input shortage. Well, if there was one nation that's suffering from not having enough tanks, it certainly would be Belgium. They did finish the military tree. Let's take a look at the laws. Per capita taxation, a lot of people still have it. Autocracy. Okay, religious school. Do they start with religious schools? And they might. The market is definitely not enough tanks. Who's the tank producer, by the way? India is producing more tanks than the rest of the world combined. United States and the Soviets number 3, then Germany, and Great Britain is producing 0.066 from a tank. Okay, fair enough. And 15 million. And it's all here. Yeah, a lot of Germans, probably still being actual German. But probably most of them were integrated by this point. 98.4 literacy, which is easily number 1, though Cuba is right behind them. I mean, this is a pretty decent Belgium overall. The GDP, yeah, actually, wait, GDP per capita sucks. If there's one nation that should be in top 10, at least it should be Belgium, and they're not. Population is okayish, literacy is okayish, tech is okayish, but that GDP it's supposed to be their thing, GDP per capita, and they're not doing this. I think someone needs to go from B, and it's going to be Romania for now. Probably Austria is on the chopping block next. Someone will have to go to D as well. Ottoman might be open, but D, someone will have to go there, so we shall see. Maybe people in chat will help me decide who will go into D. And Argentina, which supposedly is having more issues than Brazil, they used to be one of the big investors in the game. And the tables have turned, apparently. Yeah, they own 30% of their economy. I almost did this again. Yeah, they lost most of their investments in the United States, I think, somehow. Yeah, Iberia is definitely on the chopping block. from sea, but we will get there when we get there. The population is pretty impressive. GDP as well, pretty nice. Let's look at other stuff. Presidential Republic, freedom of conscience, racial segregation, which is probably part of the reason they don't have as big of a population. Though Brazil doesn't have multiculturalism, or do they? Oh, they already did. I thought maybe they were working. It's US who is working on having multiculturalism. Private health insurance, it's a bit of a problem, I think, for population growth for them. As for Argentina, take a look in their capital. There are some enormous building stacks there. $180 tooling workshops. They're almost all employed actually, which is pretty impressive. 87 food industries, all employed. Damn. How many people live here? 16 million people live in Buenos Aires. Almost half of the population of Argentina lives in one state. Why here actually? 47 glassworks, 50 motor industries. Why? What? It's in the top 15 of the states. 30%, 88 million in GDP. And let's look at the states. I mean, it's not top. Yeah, top 15. Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty much all India. Then Silesia, Saxony, Texas, Buenos Aires ring up. Texas pretty impressive, 90 million. Silesia, of course, 156. Saxony, though I actually have seen AI Saxony as a, like, one state being way more powerful than you'd think. California, and only then Brazil. East Galicia is actually the richest state in Austria-Hungary. Then Svealand. And probably there might be... Is there a visible difference in flag between Russia and India? And not really. Not on this zoom. Yeah, I've seen the oil rigs chips. I've seen them way before. I'm like 5 steps ahead of you. That's like 50 out of 26, yeah. You're not surprising me. It's interesting that the gold mines are not... Well, I guess at this point oil rigs are way more profitable than gold mines. Wait, they're still producing 13 more. Are they actually being built? Foreign queue. Doesn't seem like they are. And let's look at tech. Okay-ish military for South America, actually. Yeah, I mean, Argentina, pretty good, all things considered, for an Argentina, of course, but I just think South America is really not that great in Victoria Free, at least with the current mechanics as they are. So I guess we need to populate a bit more the A tier. It's looking kind of even except the lower ones, but that's something that will be fixed in post, I guess. Okay, let's keep going. I'm interested, did United States renationalize some of the Argentinian investments? That's not really free market of them. And it's not going to be Germany again. So is it the last one is going to be Scandinavia or Germany? Probably Scandinavia, because Chips said he's going to join the voice, so now he has to wait till the end. He cursed himself. Instead of having the caster curse, there's the chat curse. It was Ecuador, right? Oh, I just instantly forgot. Well, that's what you really expect to see in a AI nation. Ecuador was played for like 2 sessions, I think, so really not a long time. But let's see how the AI was able to do. Well, there's stuff probably you would wish to do in terms of laws. They have 6,66 population. I mean, I'd really want more population, but I respect commitment to the meme, so this is understandable. Protection, military, society. I mean, I know there's been some funky stuff why Ecuador is what it is currently, but for Ecuador this is pretty impressive. Especially like still being a South American nation as well. Scandinavia for ultimate underdog. Well, I'm going just to keep candidates here for now, and then I'm just going to keep one nation. I mean, still they are way weaker than their neighbors. Probably Mexico as well. Yeah, Mexico has more than double population. I mean, they could go into sea. And then sea will probably need some pruning, maybe with Spain. Yeah, let's just put Ecuador into sea and not think too much about it. Now it's time to roll Turkey. Wait, what is this? What is this treachery? So Germany is going to be last. That's really unexpected. Germany versus Turkey. Well, real life gets everywhere.
Hello.
Hi, Chips. Iberia for Sigma of Slasher Europe. That's fair enough.
You're not supposed to say or/slash Europe anymore.
Why not?
It's the forbidden word.
When it's you guys think it's the first split from our Europe. I've been through like 3 at this point. People always come back. Well, except the times they don't, but no,
Well, guess
that's actually rarer. So let's look at Scandinavia. They're one of the few investors who are actually making money from their investments. How much money are you making? I mean, for your size of economy, that's pretty decent revenue from taxes. Especially we're having basically no consumption taxes.
I can also tax those foreign investments, which is nice.
Yeah, you have proportional. Yeah, and you actually would straight up make more money from graduated, which is not that
Yeah, I tried to
happens.
pass it, but it failed.
The laws overall really good, actually. There's not much I can say. Like, of course, like multiculturalism would be nice, but that's pretty much RNG dependent. Institutions are fine.
Yeah, I mean, I don't need multiculturalism. I have France. Like, I am the reason France has had no pop growth for the last decade. They've all been going to me.
Technology
Like,
is looking.
Just look at. Take the culture.
Yeah. I'm
map
looking.
mode and look at me. You'll.
Oh my god.
Yeah, like I say, I've been importing a lot of pops from France.
The great replacement is happening, and it's the
I know,
French.
I'm replacing all. Now I'm just taking in more pop. French
Let's
pops.
actually take a quick look with the culture map mode if there's anything interesting happening anywhere.
Which means all my cuisine is now drenched in butter, but yeah, we need some yellow.
Latvia is gone as a culture, by the way, and Estonia.
Wait.
How did that happen?
Wait, they don't
How did Estonians got removed from Rebel? Was it like mass migration?
Well, this is definitely the great replacement with the Russians.
Yeah, that's actually surprising. I guess they just all mass migrated outside.
You also see Koreatown in Netherlands, right? 2 of the 3 states in Korea are
Oh my
majority
God.
Korean.
Yeah, and it's pretty significant majority. Though there's not that many Dutch people overall. And oh, Koreans are the real conquerors. Russians, Ukrainians in Brazil, yeah, that's to be expected. Top Italians in Argentina. Surprised there's no Germans. Spaniards. Hakka, I think they actually are starting there. And nothing surprising in North America that I can see. Yeah, well, but there's still some surprises. I guess people just migrated themselves to extinction. The technology is okay, but you probably didn't invest into universities, but you have really good literacy, so it doesn't matter that much. Are you lead producer of anything? Luxury furniture, so you took off the Finnish
Yeah.
legacy.
Like when I joined the French market, I just set all PMs to produce like the goods with the highest base cost, pretty much.
Yeah, that's
So
probably a
all
good
luxuries.
idea. Probably a good idea. Yeah, you can see pretty much about here that you joined the French market on the population graph. The GDP is pretty nice as well, and you have like significant navy, if I recall. Yeah, I mean, out of
It
the...
was pretty much what I did last session, just to get enough prestige to become a major power.
Oh, so you weren't even the major power. Well,
Yeah, no.
I mean, Scandinavia, as someone who started as Sweden, getting Norway and Denmark, not getting Finland, but at least forming Scandinavia and having some colonies, and doing pretty good investments. The question is, do I put Scandinavia in S tier, or do I make you spend the nulls?
Come on, I also have I have a very high standard of living too, like almost 24.
Which is number 3.
Yeah.
Barely above Brazil.
I'm clearly an S tier nation. I mean, Brazil's an abnormality.
Sure, actually, you know what? Let's put Scandinavia in S tier as well. So...
Yes.
So there's some more people who didn't put themselves there. And let's keep going.
Well, I'm out then.
Yeah, GG, good campaign.
Yeah, good campaign.
So now let's start talking about... Wait, what? How could this be? It's actually Germany. So one of the top 2 great powers is second to last, which yeah, probably second great power, second nation, makes sense. Nomination. Oh, Germany for Victory Award. Yeah. I mean, if there's no opposition, you win by default, I assume. So yeah, absolutely massive GDP. GDP per capita, pretty good, though surprised that Brazil and United States are really ahead of everyone by a pretty significant margin, which is pretty interesting. How many nodes do you have? Yeah, people are starting to compare. What's one of the most impressive things I think with this Germany is how much pops they have. And sure, they got Austria, for example, which is 10 million. Definitely significant. They stacked off all the pops from Africa. I forgot there's like... Yeah, there's not that many people living in those places. Because they got multiculturalism, they are actually very happy to move to actual Germany. Taiwan is probably also not really... Taiwan still has some people. But yeah, like Silesia has almost 20 million population. I think pretty significant chunk of it is just migrants. Germany also has Alsace-Lorraine. Missing just a few texts from doing the entire tech tree. Other than they would have like this, everything in like 5 years, I assume. Yeah, they did some investments into universities, though probably they didn't even really need it, I think. The power block is, yeah, they still have Turkey in it with Ethiopia, which is actually significantly increasing the amount of African colonies they have. They have Argentina. I mean, probably that's as good of a Germany as you can hope for, really. To be honest, like Germany, they didn't really run out of steam. Unluckily, we don't have the full graph of GDP throughout the years. They used to have even more, 50 million more. Hammerhout is min-maxing null acquisition. I remember there's something like the September has some like Twitch bonuses that you can bake, and you get nulls for subscriptions and bits. So you know. Oh, the laws apparently. No state. Oh, of course. Yeah. So Germany switched from multiculturalism directly to ethno-state, which, considering they had a super powerful petite bourgeoisie for most of the campaign, does make some sense. Oh, look. The N-word party. I probably shouldn't say it out loud. Do not get... Actually, I mean, cannot get demonetized when I'm not monetized in the first place, so maybe I shouldn't care. I mean, everyone can win Victoria and Victory. It all depends on votes. Other than that, laws, child labor allowed. Well, there's this GDP doesn't produce itself, you know. But women's suffrage, National Guard, Professional Army. I mean, yeah, the ethno-state is not really, it's the RP choice. Of course, the main maxing choice would be to keep multiculturalism for more mass migration attraction, and probably Germany would be up there. It's unfortunately I cannot see the actual numbers here because I would need to run the game for a week to see the proper numbers. So yeah, I think Germany, easy S tier, also really good investments. Oh, I forgot about adding the Dutch into the wheel. Something that, I mean, we'll just do them last. Honestly, they deserve to be done last. Yeah, the pops are the best thing about this Germany, I think. Because this 120 billion, Germany really shouldn't have that many pops. No, neither should Austria-Hungary have 80. Like with Austria, they would have almost 100 million as well. The pops are out of this world, like overall actually. I would be curious to see the world's population overall. Probably way too high for what it should be. But yeah, let's get to the second to last nation actually, because there's going to be a secret contendant, apparently. And yeah, it's Turkey. And Turkey, as we've already seen, suffered terribly from losing pops to Germany back when it was nice to move. Oh, Turkey is as well committed to the meme, 66.6 million GDP. A lot of their states are just stuck at 100 million. I think it's something that changed in the recent patch. It used to be that states would stagnate around 40k and they increased it to 100, which is slightly better, but still not great for a lot of places. Their GDP is not the worst, like it's higher than Spain, but it's not saying much. They're part of the German power bloc, of course. Tech is pretty rough. Universal suffrage, that's interesting. Yeah, laws are work in progress pretty much. That's a good question. How much of their GDP is oil? Actually, not that much. Why is it contributing 0? Oh, because no one is working here. So where are they producing this oil? This is half. It's 4% from oil, but that's actually... This is almost half. Yeah, they're not producing as much oil as they probably could. They are... Oh yeah, it doesn't show? Wait. It should be showing, right? I guess if they're not in the top 10. It doesn't join the German production. Yeah, definitely Turkey is actually not doing that much when it comes to oil. They could be doing way more. Production mode. Yeah, good point. Yeah, like Turkey is actually producing 2,000 maybe, which is less than Iran, for example. Not particularly impressive. So yeah, Turkey goes into D, which is actually not too bad because they're not in the Ottoman tier. They still have something going for them. And now for the final surprise nation, it's going to be the Netherlands, which are really, really not doing that great. They have 3 million population, which is about the same they had when they started the campaign. They have almost no people in their eastern provinces, and people who are there are Koreans, almost exclusively. And there is Dutch people in Holland, at least. No wonder they're called Holland, actually. And they have okay-ish standard of living, but they have one of the worst GDPs per capita in the world, I think, at this point. I would be surprised if there was... How many nations even are there? There's a few more than 40, but not many more. Turkey to one tier. Well, the people have spoken. They are part of the British market at least, and they're the British protectorate. So that's something. They have multiculturalism. Actually, their laws, for the most part, their laws are actually pretty decent. Yeah, they're really good, actually. Which is interesting. But they lost Indonesia. Yeah, the Holland. It would be nice to put someone in D tier, but they really only dare to go into the Ottoman. And I guess that means Spain should go to D. And I think that would be the current look of the tier list, unless someone has something to say about the subject. And is there anyone else you guys want to put on the awards list? Currently I don't think there's going to be any votes. $20 seconds. So people can catch up on chat and see if anyone decides to invest their nulls, or are you keeping everything for the next campaign, which fair strategy. Improving relations with Cuba, which is part of NATO. Surprised there's not more people in NATO. Okay, looks like people are fine with Spain getting the Sigmen of Slasher Europe, Scandinavia getting Ultimate Underdog, and Germany getting the Victoria Victory Award. So, yeah. And the tier list looks kind of feels bad to have so few nations in D, but I guess out of all nations that have been on the list, which is basically all nations that have been played by someone at some point and still exist, I guess there's just not many nations that are absolutely terrible. Even Spain is like borderline D, I'd argue. So yeah. Scandinavia down. I didn't stop the stream, so they go down. Down, down. Down, down to Ottoman town. Where's that? Okay. I'm gonna put the end for moving tier lists Scandinavia down. And can I put a timer like on this? How could I put a timer? There's going to be 1 minute left. I'm putting a fake questionnaire so there's the same timer for you guys. And after it's over, no more moves on the tier list. Scandinavia is, so it went 3 down, 1 up. Okay. Damn, chips left alone with not enough nulls. This stream is well voting, so unfortunately you got out well voted. Simon could probably invest something. Burn you to the ground in Emir. Well, what can you do? 10 seconds left, more or less. Secondly in Ottoman tier. 5. Well, it's over. GG guys, that's going to be the tier list for the campaign. Had a good fun today and overall with the campaign. And yeah, I guess see ya all in the next one. GG.